So, how would you deal with a rules lawyer in depth? Like
Yeah,
how mitigate that?
sure. Yeah, and I think we've talked about a rules lawyer before months ago.
Mm-hmm.
But given the last two episodes, I thought it would be good to bring up because some of the things that you're trying to do in mitigating a glass cannon or a min-max player and also trying to help an underpowered player come up to speed, you might set your rules lawyer off because they're
Mm-hmm.
going to be like, look, it's I should be able to min-max my character because those feats are legal feats. They're all in the player's handbook or they're all in the rules, and I don't understand why you're not going to let me do that.
You
Or
allowed Tasha, so why won't you allow me this feat in this
right.
subclass?
Exactly, which of course they've been online to look at and go like, well, if you do this with this with this with this, your player now can never be hit by anything. Even, you know, Thor himself can come out with plus 8,423 to hit, and he'll never hit your player because you have infinite AC because of these
Mm-hmm.
three broken things. And it's like, well, okay, well, they're all allowed. Well, okay. So there's a certain point where I would say to the rules lawyer that the first rule in anything we do is that we need to have fun and we need to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to participate and
Yep.
have fun. That said, it's not the GM's responsibility to make sure that everyone's having fun, but it is the GM's responsibility to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to participate.
Mm-hmm.
I would think about it like this. It's like, so if you're a teacher, like if your job is a teacher and you're handing out, let's say you're handing out quizzes and you decide the back row does not get a quiz and therefore they fail because you
Mm-hmm.
refuse to give them a quiz, you have failed as a teacher because you've not allowed equal opportunity for everybody to participate. Now, if the
Yep.
back row hasn't been paying attention and they choose to play on their phone or whatever and they don't do the quiz and they turn the quiz in with their name on it, they at least have the opportunity to do the quiz. So in this same way, I think that gaming's the same way, where it's like everybody should have the opportunity to take whatever character concept they can come up with that doesn't break everybody else's experience and bring it to the table. And I think that's the key.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and I don't want to make any kind of weird political statement here, but it's going to sound like I am. I think that in today's society, many people are so focused on themselves that they're not caring about the fact that other people are in the room.
Yeah.
And I think that, right, wrong, or indifferent, I think that the GM's role is to make sure that everybody in the room has the chance to have an equal say and equal partnership in what's going on. Now, there are going to be
Mm-hmm.
certain situations where 90% of the party is left out, right? Just there is. It's like, oh, you're talking to the king. Well, we're not all going to talk to the king. We're going to let the person that has the best chance of talking to the king, so either our best role player, if that's how the DM
Yep.
rolls it, or the best diplomacy role, or
Mm-hmm.
the mix of both of those things. It doesn't
We're
matter.
gonna go scout out. That's obviously gonna be whoever has the highest stealth.
Right.
And
Who
for
can
the
hide,
next
who
three
can
minutes,
move.
it's gonna be him while we're all
Right.
diddling, while we're all
Exactly.
sitting in the back waiting for him to come back.
And the same thing, it's like, oh, we're doing melee fighting. Well, then the melee fighters are there. The wizard's like, I can maybe support from behind, but I can't, I'm not going to go fight this guy with like my staff.
Mm-hmm.
That's just dumb. That said, you should operate, when you're designing your game, every game session should have an opportunity for each one of your players to shine.
Mm-hmm.
Now, where does that come in with a rules lawyer? Sounds like I like deviated off. I didn't. The rules lawyer likes to make everything fair, and so they think that by enforcing all the rules, they're making life fair. Well, sure, but the rules are written by a bunch of people that have never played with your players. The rules are
Mm-hmm.
written by people 10 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, whenever the rules came out. And they were play tested, hopefully. Sometimes I wonder. But let's say they were play tested, and they were play tested with maybe 100 people, maybe 300 people, maybe 1,000 people, but they were never play tested with your specific group.
Yes.
You, as the GM, now have the ability to take those great rules, that great concept, this great RPG, whatever it is, doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
There's thousands of RPGs now. You can take any of these great concepts, and your job now is to take it and custom fit your gaming group and those rules together.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to do good on some days, you're going to do bad on other days. That's fine. The point is not to do bad all the time or
Yep.
purposely do it bad because you're just going to say, well, the rule here says, well, maybe it doesn't, right? You're the final arbiter of any rule
Yep.
in any book ever. And that should be stated. And if it's not stated in the rules, you need to state it to your group. And I would say the first rule is that everybody has the opportunity to engage and have a good time.
Yep.
So, in the case of like our last episode, we talked about, and this would drive a rules lawyer up the wall. You might be taking a character who has gone down the wrong path for, let's say, 6 levels, and you just realize, oh man, maybe you just listen to this, our last episode, and you're like, oh my god, I really need to walk that guy back 8 levels, and really rehab him, just retool his character. There's 2 ways to do that, right? The rules lawyer would tell you to kill him. Or make him leave the party, and then he would draw up a new character that we would have to reintroduce. Okay, sure, that's a way to go. If everyone's amicable to that, then I would do it that way. The non-rules lawyer way to do it would just be to talk to the player and be like, look, it looks like you're just not having a good time. It looks like maybe you've made some choices assuming that the campaign was going to go in a different direction. I don't know if that was an assumption that was bad on your part or something I said on my part, but I'm not planning on taking the campaign that direction.
Yep.
Now, one option is you could take the campaign in that direction, but sometimes it's just that they chose something that doesn't make any sense, and it just doesn't work. Or they chose the subclass or the way that definitely was not play tested in any way, shape, or form, and you just know that because you're like, I've never seen anyone pull off that build ever.
They really like True Namer, and then once they got to 6th level, they realized that they can't do their class anymore.
True Name in 3.5 was a great concept, and then you read the rules, and you're like, this is not feasible. I mean, it doesn't scale. Like, it's great, like, until you need to do something with it.
It's great until, as long as you can roll higher than the hit dice of the creature, which can only work until, like, 6th level.
Yeah, it's just not possible. Anyway, that said, sometimes there's just builds that just don't work, can't work, will never work. And I would literally be like, yeah, let's just back it up. Now, if they chose the wrong character class at the very beginning, sure, I think the rules lawyer concept of your character just decided to retire because he took an arrow to the knee, and we're just going to introduce a brand new character who, for all I care, can have the exact same name if we really care. You know, if you really don't mind.
As long as that player who is going is okay with that, because killing off somebody's character could feel like a...
I don't mean kill, I mean retire.
Yeah.
Right? Like I said, he took an arrow to the knee, he's going to go open a tavern somewhere.
Yep.
You know. And you guys can run into him from time to time. Like, oh, look, here's so-and-so who just decided not to adventure anymore, right? Because True Name doesn't work after 6th level. I mean, it's a great party trick now for his tavern. But it's not good in the field. But that said, it's like you might also have to have the conversation with the rules lawyer and say, look, you're going to have to back his character up 6 levels. It's just not working. He or she's just not having a good time. And no offense, I'd almost rather have the rules lawyer get pissed off at me for like a week or 2 than the next, I don't know, year, 6 months, 3 months, whatever the campaign length is going to be.
Have it go down because...
And all that guy's doing is just sitting on this thing.
Yep.
Just all day long because he doesn't care.
Well,
you know.
Well, also
and stop showing up and all.
Also,
this
having one person under-leveled prevents you from scaling your challenge ratings to actually be...
Well, that becomes problematic too, right?
Yep.
So you get your min-maxer, right, who's typically, you got your min-max guy, or you got your guy who's really playing his character to the fullest, not maybe breaking rules, but really how the character should be played. Like how it was play tested the thousands of times, I guess. And then you got the other, like, 2 people that are playing it, they're okay, it's fine. Then you got the one guy who's, like, I chose the wrong class, I chose the wrong character concept, I chose the wrong, 3 feats, and now I'm screwed. There's nothing I can do. My character is worthless. And I was like, I might as well just have an NPC. Like, a first-level fighter could come in and do exactly what I'm doing, even though I'm, like, an 8th level something else. And at that point, you're like, how do I even bring into a fight in this? Because I could accidentally kill that guy, which I'm not trying to do, because, like, why do I want to kick this person when he's down?
Or the glass cannon can kill it in 2 turns flat, and nobody's having fun because...
No one touches it.
Just hand it to the glass cannon.
Right. It's kind of like, if you've ever played sports with somebody who's like really good, let's just talk about basketball, right? It's like, the coach comes up and he's like, okay, whatever you do, you get the ball to Michael Jordan, right? That's your goal. I don't care if you can take the shot. I don't care if you're right underneath the basket. I don't care if you somehow have brought a ladder onto the court and we pass you the ball and all you need to do is drop it in the hoop.
Your job
you
to
get
give
that
it to
ball to
Jordan.
Michael Jordan. Yep. Michael Jordan's going to score 60,000 points. And everyone is assisting. No one scored any points, right? Unless they got fouled. And And that's not a fun game either, where it's just like, just pipe everybody to the guy and he'll kill it all for us. It's like, that's not fun for anybody either. So in that case, literally the rules lawyer just needs to be kind of talked to, maybe before you do it, and just say, look, and now, honestly, one way to do it would be to talk to the rules lawyer and just say, hey, have you noticed that so-and-so's character is just not cutting it because I think they chose some wrong feats? And at which point the rules lawyer is going to be like, oh, yeah, what they should have chosen, because they're going to know what they should have chosen, right? They're going to have an opinion on it, which is fine. I don't have a problem with opinions. And then at which point I would look at the rules lawyer and go, so what should we do? And you might be shocked. The rules lawyer might be like, honestly, he should just swap those 3 for that 3. And you'd be like, that's a great idea. And that's exactly what you would have done. Let the rules lawyer tell you how to do it.
Having your rules lawyer give input on whatever problem you're looking at changing.
Yeah. Ownership.
If you don't go their way, they feel like you actually took their advice.
Yeah. Right.
And they won't get as pissed, or they won't get pissed at all.
No, they're happy with it. They're like, oh my God, the guy listened to me. The GM listened to me. And it actually builds bridges. So, I mean, looking back at the whole thing, I would suggest involving the rules lawyer, and if the rules lawyer is going to drag their feet, involve them into like, well, what would you suggest we do? And then go to the other person and just say, well, I got a couple of ideas. And throw out the suggestion from the rules lawyer, and then throw out maybe the suggestion you would be comfortable with, and see what the person chooses. Because at the end of the day, last thing you want to do is take away player agency.
Yep.
And specifically, if you're having to talk about like retooling, retiring, rebuilding a character, even if it's only 3 levels, or if it's all the levels, like from scratch, you definitely want your players' buy-in on it. And maybe, you could, we talked about doing this before, right? This is an interesting place to talk about it real quick, because we're almost running out of time. But one thing you should look at is, you might, depending on the player, you could look at the player and go, I think you chose some really bad, stuff with it. And they'd be like, yeah, no, I'm just not having fun. And then you could say, well, we could take it back a handful of levels and then retool the character if you think that'll work. We could retire your character and you just build a new character that you think would look better. Or tonight we could do something where I dramatically kill your character to further the story. And then next week you'll bring in a new character, but I can make it some kind of an epic death that'll really help the party out and progress the story. What do you think? And I personally, if the DM came to me and was like, hey, your character's not working, we could either back it up, we could rebuild it, we could retire the guy, or we could kill him in a really cool fashion and further the story, and you still get to bring in a new character next week, I'd be like, you know what? Kill him. Yeah, let's do that. Like, that sounds interesting. Just don't kill him at the beginning, like kill him near the end of the session so I have something to do. But, well, absolutely, yeah, I wouldn't kill you like 3 minutes in, right? But you could do a really cool, glorious death scene where, you got to do like the Gandalf holding the bridge type of thing, like that guy steps up and he's like, I'll hold off the guys. And, and you're like, oh my God, really? And it's like, yeah, guys, just move. He's holding. And then you just start showing him just getting pummeled and then finally getting killed. And then, those things race after them and they get out barely. And then the next week, they, again, like Lord of the Rings, like they reprieve themselves into the forest, and who should they meet? But the next player character, who's playing whatever, which would live in that forest, who now has agreed to help because he hates those things too. And now here you lost a friend, he's lost friends. Oh, look, instant connection, and we can move on with life. So don't be, just think outside the box, really, on this whole thing. So, and with that, we'll see you next time.